Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I bring to you a video on how long it took to get a grade 10 5 out of 5 weapon only at 8-star monsters. So, for this journey, not too long ago, I finally got my first maxed weapon in Monster Hunter Now. It was really exciting. However, just for the extra challenge, I stuck myself at 8-star monsters. So a lot of people are going like, oh, go to 9-star monsters because there's more 8 stars. I get that now, but again, let's do a challenge. How long would it take if you are 8-star monsters? I could have actually got this a lot earlier, but again, I decided to challenge myself. At 8 stars, you see a lot less 8 stars than you would at 9 stars. I see that now, but again, I wanted a challenge. And I will also cover my progress from starting the game up until maxing my first weapon and my lessons learned. So I'm going to put my tips in here, what I learned as I played the game straight from the beginning up until this point where I got a grade 10 5 out of 5 weapon. First off, we're going to start out when I started Monster Hunter Now. So I didn't get early access. I also wasn't in the Capcom Creator Program up until later on, which actually I just got there recently, so I didn't have early access to the game to create content on it, or even a leg up or anything like that. Because if you were actually part of the Capcom Creator Program, you could actually get and play the game earlier, make content on it, and I think you could start earlier too. So I would have started at the same time as the other countries like Singapore, etc., where they got a month early to play the game. So I didn't have early access. I started Monster Hunter Now day 1 on September 13th, 2023, like all the other day 1 players that didn't get early access. In the beginning, I took my time progressing through the game, so I didn't go ham. I really wanted to enjoy the journey in the beginning. And in comparison to my usual Pokemon Go drive and grind style, I played Pogo for over 7 years, hardcore, multitude of other things, but I'm not part of that game anymore. I'm talking about this game. So I also walked and grinded rather doing my usual, again, drive and grind. I will usually drive and grind. Not only is it easier, I have a ton of skill, and I know all of my places to where I can do it. Walking and grinding, totally do it, but it's not as efficient. I pride efficiency over everything else. It also saves me time and allows me to grind faster. So why not drive and grind, especially when I have so much experience doing it. So first, we're going to start from my journey from now to 6-star monsters. What I learned and used going up to 6 stars. I used the Puke sword and shield early on till I got past Diablos. So, sword and shield and poison, I just really liked how it meshed well. Mind you, I did like no research at all, but I liked how poison did passive damage when it procced early on. So I was like, alright, you know what? I will use the Puke SNS. Eventually, I found my niche and switched to using the bow as I did research on what weapons I wanted to main, and dual blades wasn't in the game yet, fortunately. Dual blades was my main series main weapon. Along with that, ranged weapons can save healing items. This is just because if you are good at charge sidestepping with the bow or your distance with the light bowgun, it was really easy for you to save healing items. And at this point, unless you had early access, you really were just trying to get your feet wet, and this was the beginning of the game in general for players that didn't have early access. I also switched to Legiana bow and started building it in preparation for the Diablos invasion event. So from the start, learn as much as I can, and then I switched to Leggy bow. So again, Diablos invasion event was coming, wanted to make a Leggy bow to take out Diablos. Now here's what I should have done. I should have focused on building and using Puke bow alongside a Focus 5 build. So Focus 5 for the bow is mandatory, or as high as you possibly can. I didn't do that here. As you see, I'm doing it now, but before, obviously, when you're trying to build up to your endgame build, I was just trying different things because I was just starting out the game. So what did we know? But again, if I had a choice, I would have switched to, as soon as I could, make the Puke bow and go straight for Focus level 5. And now, here we have me getting the 6-star monsters. I got to 6-star monsters a week after starting the game on September 20th, 2023. For me, this was pretty fast, and I started to notice the natural progression wall starting to creep up on me as I wasn't able to take out all 6-star monsters. So, having been a main series hunter for a long time, since Monster Hunter 1 all the way back in 2004, holy, it's been 20 years. Thank you for Monster Hunter Now, future me, or yeah. But Anyways, yeah, it was the progression wall. I didn't expect to hit it in a week, but then now I started to understand a little bit of what that was. I got to 6 stars to have more Diablos spawn as the Diablos Invasion event was announced for the September 22nd, 23rd, 2003 weekend. So this weekend literally was the Diablos Invasion event, and I had a hunch. If Diablos was spawning out in the field, then you had to either be at 5 or 6 stars. And I did some research, and they were like, okay, you see more 5-star monsters at 6 stars. So I was like, all right, I'll get to 6 stars. Once I looked at Black Diablos Bow's abilities, I knew this weapon was going to be amazing for a long time. Plus, black is my favorite color, so that's even more of a justification. Once I saw Black Diablos Bow had damage type level 4 at charge level 3, which basically is just 2 blinks. Every other bow as of right now needs 3 blinks to get to level 4. I was like, you know what? This is going to be super meta for a long time. And black's my favorite color. So we're going to go full send on this weapon. Now here's my loadout versus the Black Diablos event. Number 1, the Diablos Invasion. I originally planned to walk. I went to a park for this. But once I saw the Black Diablos rates, I went into drive and grind mode and went after as many as I could. Looked on Reddit, saw the excitement. Oh man, hold on. We're seeing Black Diablos out. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, so what's the best chance of me getting as many Black Diablos as I can of this moment? So my loadout for Black Diablos wasn't the best at all. Honestly, I should have went with as much focus as I could, but only having a week to prepare was really tough. If you had early access, you could definitely have a Focus 5 good enough leggy bow during this event. I didn't at all. A week without a lot of knowledge, you don't have a lot at all. I ended up taking out 16 this weekend, which is a ton for a solo player like me and not sharing Diablos whatsoever. Luckily, I got enough materials to forge Black Diablos Bow and then some. However, I wasn't strong enough to take down 6-star Black Diablos. Of course, I doubled all my Black Diablos drops as a whale. This is where I was like, alright, you know what? Time to whale. Now, I spent a whole lot of money on Pokemon Go, but also now in Monster Hunter now. But of course, from here and to the rest of the video, assume I'm going to drop or double up on most of my Black Diablos drops, as well as other drops later in this video. Alright, now that we got to 6-star monsters, here was what I learned at 6-star monsters. You should get to 6 stars as fast as possible for refining parts and getting rarity 5 parts. This is where you should start doing research if you haven't already planned ahead of what long-term weapon and build you are going after. So here's the thing, you don't want to go all willy-nilly, spend all of your resources like a smorgasbord, because Monster Hunter has something called a progression wall. And games that have progression walls are there to keep you from going way too fast. If you could just pay to play and buy your way up to the final level, what fun would that be? And Monster Hunter is known for having those grinds over and over again to seek out those materials so that you can get those coveted weapons and armor. And for the main series, and just like Monster Hunter now, this means you are stuck at a certain monster and can't kill it until you get stronger or get better at learning said monster, or again getting better gear. As you see in this Reddit example, it's Diablos in Monster Hunter World for some players. If you don't, you end up like this guy who used their materials irresponsibly and planned poorly. If you are at HR 200 and your progress is at a standstill because you used all your refining parts on weapons, you poorly planned for the game. In addition, this player is complaining about being time gated when it's natural in the main series games to have a progression wall like I explained before. This is the reason why you don't want anybody in Japan or other places like Hong Kong that play this game a lot, which are way higher than this guy right here. They would have half of their arsenal at grade 10 out of 5 if you didn't have refining parts. So, in order for you to not end up like this dude right here and plan poorly, you must make sure that you spend your resources wisely. With that being said, use mhn.quest to look at what resources you need to build your weapons and armor ahead of time. Put the link in the description for the website, but I looked at this website. Thankfully, it was available back in the day because my friend told me about it, and I use this as a measuring point, and I still have the graph on my phone where I'm like putting notes in of when I could possibly expect these events to come back so I can max out my Black Diablos bow, along with the Zenny cost, etc. So now that we got past the first event, here's planning past 6 and 7 star monsters. It's at this point where I did a ton of research and I started to build towards Focus 5 for my bow. I also built Fire Attack 5, Focus 4 for the Legiana weekend event on November 19th, no, not November 19th, November 17th to 19th, 2023. This would allow me to get my Legiana bow to grade 7, level 5 out of 5, in preparation for Roar of the Desert Black Diablos event and unlocked 7 star monsters. So we're going to have another Black Diablos event come out. Finally, it was going to come out in boosted rates, and that was Roar of the Desert Black Diablos event. Well, as actually Roar of the Desert Diablos, but yeah. So again, I made some smart moves, built a fire attack build for Legiana, and again, I was using this to build my Leggy bow to take on Black Diablos for the next event. Moving forward, we had 7 stars, so here's me getting to 8 stars and Roar of the Desert Diablos event number 2. So I got to 8 stars on November 12th, 2024. That's a little over below 2 months since starting the game. However, there is a huge problem, and I'll get to that later. At this point, I was strong enough to take on 7 star Black Diablos during the Roar of the Desert Diablos event. The loadout I used for Roar of the Desert Diablos was Focus 5 and Evade Extender 2. This was because I was really bad at evading, or because you couldn't use the Black Diablos bow, which I'm going to show later. You had to do a sidestep at level 4 instead of 3. So because of that, just for me being more comfortable and I didn't have a lot of experience fighting Black Diablos, I used Evade Extender 2 instead of an Ice Attack 2 build or something of that sort. So that's why I did that. But as you see here, here's me making it to 8 stars finally. And again, that took a little below 2 months since starting the game. The event ran from November 24th to the 26th, 2024, with boosted Black Diablos on the weekends and rare spawns on the weekdays. I ended up going after Black Diablos during the rare spawn week and the boosted weekend, so I hunted and grinded the entire weekend. That was a mistake. There was also a makeup day due to some connection issues on Saturday, so 4 days of increased Diablos total. Well, I mean not Diablos, Black Diablos total. By the end of both Black Diablos events, I ended up slaying 262 Black Diablos total, with almost enough Black Diablos materials to get a grade 10, level 5 out of 5 Cera Coilbender. And here are the lessons learned going from 6 to 8 stars and the Black Diablos event number 2. Subspecies will come back again at a certain time, and there is no reason to worry that it won't come back. So again, there will be multiple events. If you have a subspecies that you really like and want to build for, then it's going to come back eventually. It's not worth going after subspecies monsters during the non-boosted rates. The spawns are so low, you might spend hours before you find one. Literally, I got to a point where it was driving for hours on end and I wasn't finding a lot of Black Diablo spawns. I drove a lot during that non-boosted week, and instead of those hours, I could have been relaxing or playing the main series games and just waiting until the boosted rates. So this was the lesson I learned. Hey, as much as I wanted Black Diablos and getting to grade 10, 5 out of 5, now I know it's going to come back. So again, don't stress about it. Also, grade 7, 5 out of 5 Rathian or Puke bow would have been amazing in preparation for 8 stars. It was really hard to beat an 8-star Great Jaggers with a grade 7, level 5 out of 5 regular Diablos bow and burst 2. So the Diablos bow instead of Black Diablos is what I went over because of Raw. That was a huge mistake. Puke and or Rathian bow, like I mentioned, at grade 7, 5 out of 5, because of the poison mechanic, would have done a lot better for me. Instead, I wasted resources and went after the wrong thing. So to summarize, I really wish I invested in poison bows up to this point to take out some 8 stars and get the chance for Wyvern gem shards. Because of this, I kind of progression locked myself on accident because I didn't do enough research and I built the wrong weapon. Because I thought Diablos bow could do the trick, but it didn't. So if you're at this stage and you're using Puke or Rathian bow, you are doing way better than I did when I started. Moving on, here's getting all the grade 10 level 5 out of 5 materials for the Black Diablos bow and the Black Diablos event number 3. It wasn't too long till Monster Hunter Now introduced another event that boosted Black Diablos. This was called the Happy Hunting New Year event, which featured both Pink Rothian and Black Diablos, but Black Diablos had its own week where it was boosted from January 1st to the 8th, 2024, so the beginning of 2024. However, I only needed a few more Black Diablos materials. If you look at the comparison, I was missing a few Rarity 4s and a little bit of Rarity 3s. So here, this is the thing. At this point, my Black Diablos bow was grade 7, level 5 out of 5, as I didn't get any Wyvern gem shards before this event. So here's what I had left over after I upgraded my Black Diablos bow to grade 7, 5 out of 5. As you see from this comparison from monsterhunter.quest or mhn.quest, I was missing about, I think, 29 Black Diablos Prime Shells and 11 Black Diablos Ridges. So a few Rarity 3s and a still decent amount of Rarity 4s, but this whole event was going to last a week. So I was definitely going to have enough time and enough spawns to get my Black Diablos bow all its materials it needed to get maxed out and get grade 10 level 5 out of 5. Unfortunately, there was only one problem. I was on vacation in the Philippines for the event. So I was in my secondary home. I am full-blooded Filipino. Both of my parents are from the Philippines and migrated and naturalized in the United States. Well, actually my mother did, but my dad, my real dad, actually stayed in Australia or something like that. Long story, long family story. But again, I was in my second home, the Philippines. Loved it, but I wasn't in the United States. Without access to my car, I couldn't grind as efficiently as I would have if I drove home and grinded. If I was home, I would have went ham this entire week, and the Pink Rothian week too. I definitely would have gotten as many kills as I possibly could and slay as many as I can. So, there was only one choice. And I'm a hardcore player, having done this for Pokemon Go, having traveled to so many countries, I wasn't about to let this stop me. I still did my 5-6 mile runs, running around the Philippines and walking around an island as much as I could to maximize as many Black Diablos slain as I possibly could. So I went to Boracay. It was a place with amazing food. If you watch my Black Diablos blog, it was amazing. And yeah, I love the food and everything like that. But again, it was time to work on Monster Hunter now and get my Black Diablos weapon. So I could definitely do it. And thanks to being deployed to Afghanistan and grinding at many Asia Pokemon Go live events, I've been to Japan, been to Singapore, been to Taiwan. Is there another Asia event I went to? I think there was another one, but I forgot about it. But yeah, thanks to those, hunting in heat and humidity was cake. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm used to this, like, a different environment, whatever. I was already used to this, especially Afghanistan. It was the worst. But thanks to all these experiences, I was definitely able to handle the task, no problem. Now that I have all the monster type materials I need to get my weapon to grade 10, level 5 out of 5, and max it out, here's getting my Black Diablos bow to grade 8, 1 out of 5, level 1 out of 5, and lessons learned. So when you take out the monster type materials, you got the Wyvern gem shards still. On December 6, 2024, there was a double drop day event to make up for poison element not dropping materials. So if you poison something, kill it with poison, it would not drop it. This event doubled the first 2 slots as you see on the picture. So the first 2 slots that would drop stuff, you got 2 instead of 1. And of course, I was gonna double it up. This meant that it took nearly a month for me to get enough Wyvern gem shards to get one weapon to grade 8. It took that long. You can go weeks without getting any Wyvern gem shard drops, and at this time I just happened to get 2 of the double event drops, literally. And this is a natural progression wall that, again, the Monster Hunter main series has. You can't get around it. You just got to do the luck of the draw and hope that it drops what you need. You can go weeks without getting a Rarity 6 drop. Mind you, I double all my Wyvern gem shards. So even then, it took an event and 23 days to get 1 drop. Mind you, it's not like I wasn't trying. Now that I have a weapon, my Black Diablos bow, my Cera Coilbender at grade 7, 5 out of 5, I can take out 8-star monsters pretty easily. So it was like, well, so I would kill some of them, I'd go out as much as I could, and none of them dropped anything up until this event. So again, it could take weeks before you finally get a Wyvern gem shard if you get to 8-star monsters. Now that I finally got my weapon to grade 8, level 1 out of 5, here's getting the rest of the Wyvern gem shards for my grade 10, level 5 out of 5, Black Diablos Bow at 8 stars. Remember, this is me being locked at 8-star monsters. I didn't go to 9 stars. During my vacation in the Philippines, I managed to get a few Wyvern Gem Shard drops, and I will always double Wyvern Gem Shards. Even to this day, I'm doubling Wyvern Gem Shards. I also got a few Wyvern Gem Shards from in-game events as they started giving out Wyvern Gem Shards as quest rewards. But it wasn't many, like 3 or 4, I think? I'm not too sure. But the exciting thing is we gave feedback that, hey, you should put Wyvern Gem Shards in event quests, you know? And they finally did it. So, that's exciting, and I'm really happy that there's the progression of, hey, even if you're like a newer player, if you can get to that, you can get those Wyvern Gem Shards that I couldn't, because I couldn't take down Jagras, because I made a mistake when I was trying to upgrade and getting to 8-star monsters. And now we're going to fast forward to where I finally got all the Wyvern Gem Shards I needed for my grade 10 level 5 out of 5 Black Diablos Bow. During April 15th to the 21st, 2024, there was the Thunder Elemental event. This event was to prepare us for Devil Joe, and this was one of the best events as it doubled the first 2 drop slots like the Poison Makeup event. Like I showed you before, Poison Makeup event, that's where this kind of originated, even though it was an accident. And now we had an entire event where you could get double drops for the first 2 slots. So because of this, I grinded as much as I could during this event as I was at grade 10, level 4 out of 5 for my Cera Coilbender. So I managed up to this point, finally, we're going to do all the timeline later on in this video, but finally I was able to get it this high and I was at the final stretch. So of course I was going to hop in my vehicle and drive hard and grind hard during this event. And now that leads us to finally the final set of Wyvern Gem Shards. So on the night of April 20th, I was 1 double drop away from finally maxing out my Cera Coilbender. So I was like, you know what? I was looking long and hard. I was like, you know what? I'm still going to go Sunday. Nah, dude. It's time to pack up and go now.
I'll be back, dude.
And after yeeting myself outside of the window of my place, I'm just kidding. I took the door and went down 3 floors of stairs. I decided to go out one last time and see if I could get lucky for that last Wyvern Gem Shard drop. Fortunately, I managed to get this at a random CCAku. I was like, wait, what? So, I was driving by and I was like, you know what? Might as well get the CCAku. And the funny part was, it wasn't even in the first 2 slots. It was literally randomly near the end, as you see here. But the great thing about this is this drop finally set me up for my first grade 10 level 5 out of 5 weapon. My first maxed weapon ever. Let's go. And that took a really long time. So remember I told you before I was going to tell you what the timeline was? Well, here's a timeline from when I started Monster Hunter Now to getting a grade 10 level 5 out of 5 Cera Coilbender. My start date was September 14th, 2023. I got to 6 stars on September 20th, 2023, which is 6 days after I started the game. As for 8 stars, I got to 8 stars on November 12th, 2023. So that was 54 days after 6 stars, so about 2 months. Next, I finally got my grade 10 level 5 out of 5 weapon maxed out, my first one, on April 20th, 2024. This was 160 days after 8-star monsters. After getting to 8-star monsters, 160 days. It took over 4 months from 8 stars to finally max 1 grade 10 level 5 out of 5 weapon, staying at 8-star monsters. If we are looking from when I started, it took 219 days, or when I asked Siri, 7.2 months to max out my very first grade 10 level 5 out of 5 weapon. In addition, here's other factors to consider on that timeline. 97 to 99% of my drops were doubled to get all the monster type materials. This is just the monster type materials. And the reason it's 97 to 99%, once I got close to the end, I didn't double up anymore because I knew I had plenty of time to get the rest of the materials I needed to max out my weapon. The monster type I went after was the hardest subspecies monster at the time, Black Diablos. So Black Diablos, and to most hunters or some monsters to these days, is still the hardest one in comparison to Koro Puke Puke, which has a water pressure, water soaker, super soaker of doom. For some, Black Diablos might still be harder, just because of her raging ability to just absolutely yeet you from the face of the battlefield. And for the first 3 weeks, I walked to play, so I didn't drive and grind, I walked, so I was on foot. For the remainder of this journey, the rest was driving and grinding. I went back to my roots, I went back to my specialty, and I drove and grinded, and to this day, I will drive and grind. I won't go back to walking unless I go to a live event or something like that, or overseas, etc. So, for 3 weeks, in addition, I was on vacation. So while I did play most of my vacation, it wasn't as efficient if I didn't go. If I didn't go on vacation and I drove and grinded, I would have got a lot more work done, would have killed a lot more Black Diablos. So just putting that out there, that vacation for 3 weeks, it was 3 weeks, that took a lot of consideration as to how long it took me, instead if I didn't go and I drove. And those aren't even all the craziest things. Here's the craziest things about this entire journey on that timeline. I published 202 YouTube videos during the journey to a grade 10 level 5 out of 5 weapon. 202. This means 92.24%, I actually did the math, of this journey I published a video. This does not include editing the videos, responding to y'all's comments, which I do a lot very well because I want to make sure that you're appreciated, and I want to know that I'm listening to your feedback, etc. But yeah, this was nuts. In total, that was 219 days, which means only 17 days I didn't publish content. But still, 90 plus, that means 90% up to this point, since the game has been out, I have published content 90% of the daytime. So 90% daily, 92% daily since the game has came out, I have published content, which is absolutely nuts. I'm still in amazement of like, wow, I really put in a whole lot of work. And in addition, from October 30th, 2023 to February 17th, 2024, I was a part-time high school head wrestling coach and a full-time mental health therapist. So, my day job is a full-time mental health therapist. Y'all don't know. I'm an associate. I'm literally, next year, I will have enough hours to go towards licensure, and then I can apply for my board exam, and I'll be a fully fledged, licensed marriage family therapist. That's not even the thing. A high school head wrestling coach. To become a head high school wrestling coach, you must have approval from the athletic director and the principal. That's how good I am at what I do, and just how freaking amazing I am as a person. Just putting that out there. And this was my first year as a head wrestling coach. What happened last year, I was an assistant, and then halfway through the season, something happened, and our head wrestling coach was deemed unfit for their position. Had I not taken over, we wouldn't have a wrestling program. So it was time for me to upgrade and go from being an assistant to being the head honcho. Take up all the leadership skills I've known throughout the years and finally become a head wrestling coach. So this meant most of my Saturdays were spent coaching wrestling tournaments for most Saturdays of that time frame instead of potentially playing the game. This includes wrestling practices, 2 or more hours a day from Monday to Friday. So a lot of that, along with meetings with other head wrestling coaches, etc., committees, all the other additional stuff I had to do as a head wrestling coach, mentoring my assistant wrestling coaches, etc. It was a nightmare. So I did all that content publishing, and I still played the game at a very high level, along with doing all of this. And lastly, before I close it out, because this is a really long video, here are my lessons learned from this entire journey. So go Poison Elemental with Bow or another poison weapon type as a main and get that to grade 10 level 5 out of 5 if you want to save resources. Poison has been proven to be very good and still very good, if not getting better as the game updates and progresses. So if you want a one fits all and then branch out later, that's the really smart thing to do. You should do this. Learning monster patterns to adapt and get better is always necessary to save resources. I got my niche, I got known by making monster guides. So, thanks to those monster guides, not only did I spend a lot of potions, but I learned a lot about the monster itself. And to this day, I am still practicing. because there will be even more monsters coming out, and I must make guides on those and learn their attack patterns so I don't have to spend potions on them too. In addition, do research. If you plan to make any weapon or build, plan ahead. That paid dividends for me in this journey to getting my weapon maxed out. I knew what I needed, I knew what resources, I knew how much I needed to wait. That's why it took so long, and I didn't mind that it took me this long because of refining parts. Now I have a lot of refining parts. So, in future updates, if I use them for something else, I got plenty, so I don't need to worry. So, do your research. There's always more to learn. If you're wrong about something, that's great. It's great that I'm wrong about something, because that means I can learn something from it. I'm a head wrestling coach. I did learn things from other head wrestling coaches, then my kids would be constantly losing matches, and I wouldn't have gotten a league champion and a section/regional medalist at 7th place. That's a really big deal, by the way, for ours, because, yeah, there are a lot of good schools in California that wrestle. So, that being said, it's only worth to go after subspecies during boosted event timeframes. Remember I told you about that time I went over to Black Diablos on the non-boosted week? Yeah, that wasn't worth it. I spent a whole lot of hours doing that. Mind you, early in the morning too. So I woke up early in the morning, went out, bam, yeah, it totally wasn't worth it. So don't do it. Only go after subspecies during boosted event timeframes. They will come back. Don't worry about it. And here's my important piece of advice. Don't worry about catching up to everybody else. Everyone starts somewhere, and everyone's playing field can differ depending on the individual. For example, I'm a solo player. Versus community places like Japan or Hong Kong, I ain't got a shot. So if you think you play, there's someone out there that plays more than you, I guarantee it. So there's no reason for you to go out there and try to be all macho, acting like you're better than everybody else, because there's likely someone out there that's crazier than you. I know there are players that are crazier than me. Give you an example. When I was at GoFest Japan, I remember, and I still remember to this day, the ambulance was going off because it was so hot and so many people were getting like heat stroke that players in Japan were still hunting Pokemon even though they were passing out from heat stroke. And that ambulance was going back and forth. It was crazy. So, as hardcore as I am, I bow down to the eastern side of the world when it comes to hardcore. They're a different breed. They're a different animal. They're absolutely amazing. And it's inspiring to see them going so hard, which inspires me to go so hard as well. And to close this out, at the end of this journey, I still ended up at Hunter rank 155, so halfway to maximum, which is right now at 300, and a gold Black Diablos medal, which is 1,000 slain. This is very exclusive, especially for someone like me who is a solo player. I've driven a lot of miles for that. With everything else on my plate, I'm still amazed I made it this far. So, yeah, it's amazing. And I will make a video for how much I spent to make the grade 10 level 5 out of 5 Black Diablos Bow, doubling up on materials, Wyvern gem shards, and other costs. So if you're curious about a pay to win aspect of the game as far as that, I will make a video on that just in case you are curious. And if you are looking to spend money on this game, I'm a whale. I'm able to pay off my personal finances and my bills just fine, and in addition, splurge on this game. With that being said, I'm honestly stunned at how hard I work on my content along with other elements of my personal life. I did a lot of work on the side in addition to this, and I'm still good at the game. With that being said, I hope you please do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Hopefully this experience I presented you helped you out, let you learn some lessons, and learn from my mistakes. And just give you a glimpse on how much it takes if you're just starting out, or if you're looking at getting a grade 10 5 out of 5 weapon and locking yourself to 8-star monsters. I'll be doing a separate video on the journey to 9-star monsters, etc. Want my opinions on it, etc. for 9 stars. Again, please do me a huge favor, like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Good luck on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.